from the Lakeland Land Sharks, Keith Brantley. Good job, Keith Brantley, you're an Ironman.
Alright, so post-race Chattanooga. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take about 2 weeks off and just, really express what I was feeling. And I want to start from the start to the finish. We'll talk about the finish later on. That was very, I don't know, I'm speechless when it comes to the finish because it was pretty emotional for me because I had a very, very hard day. And what I want to do is just really break it down. And like I said, I want to start from the travel to the lodging to the prep before the race and everything that went on that, and a couple of funny things that happened to me. The swim, the bike part, and then the run, and then of course the finish, and then traveling back home and going through what all that entails. So it was a long 7 days, and I counted it, and it was 40 weeks. I think I have logged of videos on my triathlon journey leading up to Chattanooga, and I felt like I did a few races, a few, they call them tune-up races, and I really feel like some of the smaller sprints helped me with my triathlon. Triathlon, basically a series that I did. During COVID, I remember putting on a race myself because they canceled the race. And then I remember signing up for Chattanooga for 2020, and that didn't work out. And then we finally made it in 2021, September 26th, which was a Sunday. We hit the water about 7:30. But let me just back up just a little bit. So we left here on, on Wednesday. So I had this great idea that I would drive straight through, work all day, get to work at 5 a.m., get off at 6 p.m., go to church, do security for 2 hours, get on the road about 8:30, 9 o'clock, end up getting on the road about 10 o'clock because we had to come home and do some light packing and load the Pathfinder up. And then we drove 8.5 hours. I think we stopped and got gas twice, used the restroom. Finally made it to Chattanooga, and then we had to drive back about 20 minutes to get to our cabin, which was in Georgia. So it was definitely a very, very fun-filled adventure with two smaller kids, 4 years old, Lucas, and Caden, 8 months. So my brilliant idea was to drive through the night. They would sleep. They slept somewhat, but for parents, I would recommend traveling with small kids. Do it during the day, and you can just keep them entertained. They do sleep, but I think it's better on the parents when you're driving that you can stay a little more alert, because right there about 6 o'clock, we had about 15 to 20 minutes to go. I started getting sleepy, and then when I got there, I went to bed on Thursday, and then Friday I had to check my self in. So I got myself all checked in. On Friday, you do not bring your bike. So they have Thursday check-ins and Friday check-ins. And then bike is mandatory on Saturday. So got myself all checked in, got my race chip, which by the way, in the video before this, they do have race chips at the swim. So if you run out, forget it, don't panic. I will tell you, use the safety pin technology that I come up with. Not one, but 2 safety pins. You run in the Velcro strap, then that way when you're swimming, you're not thinking, hey, I'm gonna kick it off. You have that extra protection case you get one that comes off, because I don't know what the rule of thumb is if one comes off in the water. So got myself checked in, and then Saturday rode the bike a little bit, and then checked the bike in. I think my bike check-in time was from 9 to 10. Met Lionel Sanders. That was real cool. He's pretty big in the triathlon network. So he was chill. Even though he's this big famous triathlete, he definitely took time to sit down and talk. And I remember one of the things he said to me was he was nervous. And I'm thinking, I'm nervous, and I'm just an athlete. I'm not a pro athlete like you are. But it hit home, someone that is going through the same fears and thinking the same thing that you are, because those race nerves, they are real. Well, so checked the bike in, ran into him, and then this is Saturday, so I definitely wanted to get a run in after I got my little bike ride in. So I ran down to the swim start, which was running, and the route that I took, it was about 4 miles, and I still wasn't there. So I am definitely glad they busted us that morning. And I also brought my special needs, which, note to yourself, when you drop off your bike, you're only dropping off your bike and your bags. So you got to find out where your run bag goes and where your bike bag goes. So your bike bag is first, because you're going to grab that when you come out of the water, and your run bag is second. So when you park your bike, you're going to run through the area. Once you offload your helmet and your shoes, and you're going to run through the area, and you're going to grab your, actually, I back up. They take your bike. So they take your bike, and you run through and grab your run bag, and then you transfer your bike stuff to your run bag, and then all 3 bags get picked up at the end by your family member. They give you like a card, or you can pick it up with your bracelet, which I'm still wearing, by the way. So there she is. I'll wear this thing to the next race if I can, if it holds up. Sometimes they come off or tear. So Sunday morning, got up at 5 a.m. and that was just a disaster. Got up at 5 a.m. You had to be there. You had to be on the bus by 7, and I think transition closed about 6:30. So I think 4:30 to 6:30 is to give you 2 hours to get to your bike. Put your frozen water bottles on there. You had your morning clothes bag with you, because you dropped off the 2 bags Saturday, with your bike. And you also had your special needs run and your special needs bike. You had those with you also. And what you do is, like me, you put protein, sandwich, peanut butter, ham and cheese, whatever you like, special notes, anything. And your frozen water bottles, your bike computer, you get all that stuff dropped off and set up that morning. They give you a little time in transition, not much. And then you take your morning clothes bag to the swim. So you got this bag with like your wetsuit in it. If you're not wearing your wetsuit, then you are definitely got it in a bag, and you got it all crunched down in there. So I had my wetsuit in there, and I'm walking around, and I laid it down as I was checking my run and bike bag, and walked off and got on the bus. When I realized, I looked around, everybody had their bags, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, where is my morning clothes bag with my wetsuit in it? I'm like, it's got my goggles in it. It's got everything in it. And I'm just like, what in the world was I thinking? So I traced my steps, got off the bus, calmed down, and found it, grabbed it. It was right where I laid it next to, I think, my run bag. And then once I found that, got back in line, got on the bus. They put us on school buses. They had like 35 school buses transporting 3,000 athletes. And when we transferred 3,000 athletes, I think they did it in like 30 minutes, because we had to drive, like I said, 4 or 5 miles down the road to get to the swim start. So once we got down to the swim start, They postponed the swim. Don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but there was high levels of E. coli in the Tennessee River. The unfair thing is, I was up front with the pros, and I heard the pros talking about it, and I'm like, now, mind you, when I dropped everything off, there was a lot of chatter about the swim, they might cancel it, this and that, and then they ended up postponing it. And then when they postponed it, about 10 minutes, they let the pros go off at, I think it was like 7:30. So then we went in the water at 7:40. They were supposed to let the pros go off at 7:20. So we were supposed to hit the water at 7:30. So I was up with the faster swimmers. I think I did the swim in like an hour. I had a PR of like a 1:18 pace, and I killed the swim. All my training was on point. I did really good. I really enjoyed it. So I was coming under the third bridge. There's 3 bridges after you count. I think it's like 10 or 11 buoys. And then when you come underneath the third bridge, you start turning to the left, and they got these like stairs, and you just like grab onto them, and the volunteers are helping you, and you're kind of like waterlogged, you know, from being in the water for, you know, an hour, you know, swimming 2.5 miles, I think it was. And then you had to run literally a half a mile barefoot on concrete, and then up this metal ramp up this hill, because the river sits down in like a little valley, little thing. And then you got to run down this other road to the parking lot to get your bag. You pick your bag up first, and then they had all these chairs. There wasn't enough chairs, and you had to stand up and put on all your bike gear. And I'm like, okay, everything's good. I got a little bit of nutrition already on my bike, and then I will make it to the 56 mile mark, which is the first loop. You're actually the town, I can't remember the name of it. It starts with a C. It's like Changendale, or I don't know. It's the name of the river dam. I'll think of it. But you got there, and I remember backing up to the log cabin, grabbing a big, nice burrito at 5 o'clock in the morning. My daughter made me. It was eggs, bacon, burrito, cheese. I tore it up, annihilated it. Right above it was my nutrition. Forgot it. So when I got to my first bag, I had no nutrition. So I've already been 56 miles in about 3 hours because I was just getting it. So second loop with no nutrition, just honey and like Pop-Tarts. 4 hours. So I did 7.5 hours on the bike. Got back to transition. They grabbed my bike from me, grabbed my run bag, transferred everything out, and then went on the run. But I did take about 10 minutes because my foot was hurting me from running on the concrete. So I did change my socks, got a fresh pair of socks, and shoes. Please, when you're training for a triathlon, get 2 pairs of shoes, same kind, train in 1 pair, have a fresh pair for the race. Some people are going to disagree with me on this, but let me tell you from experience, the race went fantastic. My foot recovered, and when my foot recovered, I was able to do about 11-minute pace on the run. There was a lot of hills on the bike, a lot of hills on the run. So okay, I'm like, all right. So when you do triathlons, you step by step. You just check the box, check the box. That's what I did all day long, check the box. I felt great, never felt bad. Even though I had no nutrition, so I couldn't really push. And because I was targeted to do about 9 hours, 9 to 10 hours, somewhere around there. I had a good target for Kona, but my nutrition just fell apart. My training was on point. I stayed with that. I paced myself. Everything went great. Even chatted with some guy from, I think, Oklahoma for 20 minutes. It was really cool on a bike. Well, got to the run, got started, and no nutrition, remember. So I'm like depending on the aid stations. So I get aid station 1, there's no nutrition. The soups, they do hot chicken broth. Soup basically is not coming until it gets dark, and this is like 4:30. So I got 3-4 hours before I can get any kind of real like nutrition, which chicken broth is nutrition. So I get that, and I get started on the run before I get that chicken broth. And these two kids were chilling, and I was like, hey, I remember volunteering at Panama City Beach in 2013, I think it was, before I went through all my surgeries and had to put Ironman off for a couple of years, you know, for my foot surgeries. So I was like, they get pizza. So of course the first piece of pizza, they said, yeah, go ahead. One's like, no, one's like, yeah. So the first box of pizza I open up, there must have been a whole can of olives on this pizza. Cheese pizza with olives. I raked it off because I was like, I don't need pizza sauce, I don't need cheese, I don't need olives. I need the bread for the carbs to get me through this run that I'm about to do for 26 miles. Raked it off, started running. Boom, boom, boom. Dropped the pizza in the dirt on the side of the road. Great. You know where this story's going. Picked it up, I didn't even knock it off, and I started just annihilating that pizza. And then I'm running, and then just something like came on in me, and I was just like, it was those carbs hitting me down deep. I was like, this is fantastic. So I kept running. Did the one loop. I was like, cool, I'll hook back up with the family. Even though this would probably disqualify me, I'm gonna get a sandwich from the family. They're gonna go back to the car and get my sandwiches, I'm good. Well, the way they did the run is they looped you away from the transition area, and then you only got back to the transition area when you went down this long highway that they had closed off that put you back to the chute where you finished the Ironman. That's the only time you got back to your family. So when you looped around, they took you down another road that didn't loop you back to your family, so I couldn't get my sandwich. So I had one piece of pizza pretty much all day for food. I think it was like 13 hours it took me to finish this Ironman. And then each aid station, you know, I would get Gatorade, Red Bull. I'd kind of rotate it because the Gatorade was real strong. I think depending on if it was watered down or not watered down. And then I was like, I'm gonna push through, I'm gonna push through, I'm gonna push through. And then I got the run finished, and that was pretty much the race. I ran through, they said, Keith Brantley, you're an Ironman, and that was it. I really was impressed with that. The announcer did a good job, Ironman put on a good job, and then my dog's barking in the background, sorry. And we loaded up the Pathfinder, loaded the bikes up. Once we got back to the cabin, because they already had my bikes already on the car, so we loaded the other bikes up, loaded the car up, and then we headed back to Lakeland. We left at 2 o'clock, and we got back around 10:30 at night. So driving during the day, parents, is a lot better. So more videos will come. My training is going to start back up. I hope that worked out, and I broke that down for you. And that's my post-race do's and don'ts, basically. Hit the like button. I really hope this video pushes a lot of you folks to do a triathlon. I feel like the Chattanooga is the way to go. If you want more of a flatter one, Panama City Beach is it. So see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.